Hello everyone, I'm here with my good old friend Tony Rodrigues. Tony, how are you?
Hi, Elena. I'm happy to be here. I'm recovering. I'm fastly recovering from a pretty bad cold I got on my trip, and I'm happy that I'm on the backside of it all. I'm a lot better, and I'm happy to see you. I've been dying to be on here and talk about my newest book and other stuff, and I'm happy to see you. We had a blast of a time in England, in Devonshire, and that was just a beautiful conference. And you did amazing as always. Your
Thank
I
you. You too.
Your presentations, I think, should be required reading, required for people. That was really good stuff, really great info. And we met some really good people there that were out. Like I had no idea about Praveen and his work, and I've kind of been in slightly contact with him about some of the stuff that he researches. That was really eye-opening. And Hugh Newman, I met him, and just to see everybody develop from last year's GC. Anyhow, and I got back and I was in bed. I caught a bad cold, and I guess a few other people in that flew from Europe got sick too. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
going
yeah,
on.
that's the British English weather for you. The lovely English weather.
For the most part, it was nice. It was beautiful. A couple
Ouais.
rainy days there, but it
Yeah.
was it was really a wonderful visit. I was didn't know what to expect. I was pleasantly surprised by it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
ask you a question. I have to ask you something. We have not talked about this. So we talked about our bullet points off
Yeah.
camera. We did not talk about this, and I want to bring this up because I know that a lot of your audience that's going to watch this are European,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So the biggest thing firstly, when I was in England, in the UK, I don't know the correct terminology. It's got so many names. When I was in the UK, people were so well behaved socially, very polite. It was noticeable more than your typical American uh, city square, right? So when you walk, even some of the kids in rough areas, even the thugs were well behaved. Like there was a difference. There was a different etiquette there than there is in
Yeah.
America. And I went, wow, that was so impressive. But when we went back and watched TV at night, the television had no violence. It was even the television, the programming that you're exposed to there was kind. Like I don't know how to say it. And I know people are going, oh, wait a minute, but we have violence on our TV, but nothing like the level that we have in America. The programming stood out to me in my travels there, and that just shows how much we're being programmed. And when we look at the what American television gets, even in a comedy, people get shot to death. Like there's a great a deal of violence in American media programming. And the net result, I said, talking about this, I did some research on it. Um, the psychology of watching violence affects young men the most. So if you take a group of people, women are turned up. Women don't see themselves as violent, so they just tune it out. Just like, men tune out like a fashion show. We just tune it out. We don't, it doesn't apply to us. Young men are greatly affected when they see violence and gore in television, and it instills a sense of hopelessness. That's the net result of it. So we have this epidemic of, young men in their mom's basement until they're 28 years old. And I'm wondering if it's our programming that they've given us. And it's not the government. Maybe it is, but it's private corporations that are doing this. It's really an agenda because violence doesn't sell. We if they were selling people to watch their shows, it wouldn't be gore and violence. And that's what we have in America. And so that stood out. I learned that on my trip there. What's your take on that?
Well, I rather agree because I see the TV programs. I'm not watching TV. I haven't been watching TV here in Europe maybe for 20 years. But I see, I know anything that comes from America, American programs, and I'm sure it's uh, carefully picked. It's not the worst of it. It's violent.
Yeah.
When we got European series or movies, it's more like intellectual, more about artistic. And when you have an American movie, there you're gonna have it all like violence, nudes, and all these things. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and
I
it's
agree.
disgusting.
I
Well, the
agree.
thing is, we end up turning off TV. I sit down at
Yeah,
the end of my day, and I want to unwind, and I put on TV, and I look through it for 15 or 20 minutes, and go, I don't want to watch any of this. It's all trauma. And so the programming stood out to me, and what I said was, well, what I mean is that it was evident in the behavior, in the social construct, the behavior, and so we need to really, I guess I'm saying to people watching that really pay attention to the intake of media because it does shape your behavior. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
exactly. Exactly. It's a weapon. Medias, it's a weapon against the people to manipulate people. Oh my gosh, we could go so much hours talking about that. Um, I want to, I wanted to remind everyone that Tony has already written 3 books. Believe it or not, yes, for those who don't know exactly his work. So the first book is Ceres Colony Cavalier. I'm going to come back to that, uh, which tells about when your story, your personal story, when you were, how you were abducted into the dark programs, the places you've been, and then you wrote Project Star Maker, which is extension of that. Like there's a something that happened in that book, and that's a side story of it. That's the sequel of this, and then the third one about remote viewing beyond sight. So, and you're writing another one as well. So, fantastic.
Yeah, the fourth one. I want to say that the GSIC in Devonshire was my little test bed for the information. I put the slides of all the people that I worked with, and it went over very well. A lot of people gave me great positive feedback. So that's going to be the basis, basically the whole phenomenon, because what we're telling people is starting to get kind of brushed aside by the mainstream. If you
Mm,
notice, the secret space program and the abductions and everything that's happened, the history of it, they're starting to act like, meh, nothing's happened. And we're getting these really glossy testimonies coming out of people that are ascending to 5D and they're unlocking their pineal gland. And we're getting a lot of fluff,
yeah.
that's moving away from the reality of it. And I
Yeah.
moved to Sedona and I meet people here, and they hear about me a little bit from other people. They go and then they talk, hey, nice to meet you, and they ask me questions, and I say, yeah, I was taken, I was 10, and they're like, yeah, but it wasn't like astrally. I'm like, no, I was
Hello.
physically worked in space. I worked on a
Yeah.
UFO physically.
Yeah.
Like I would bump myself and hurt myself. A lot of people are given these, there's other testimonies that are just not what we're talking about,
Yeah.
not the nuts and bolts. And they're trying to push us away from it. And so that just means it's more important to talk about it.
Yeah, really need to extend that question because that's very important. You were physically taken. You found the places. You filmed. You went there. You filmed the places, the trailers, the places. You found the houses where you were taken there, and also, oh my gosh, you were okay. Ceres Colony Cavalier. You were taken for many years on Ceres, which is a planetoid in the asteroid belt, well, a planet, not a planetoid, a real planet, small planet. And you were saying before it was announced in the news, there is salt. We were mining salt there. Well, you are not personally involved
Oh,
in that,
your
but
sound. We lost your sound.
oh, my sound. Can you hear me now? Hello?
We'll check into this. It
Can you
just
hear
cut
me
out.
now?
At least I
Okay.
can't hear it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was it. Yeah.
Okay, that's very weird.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's been
internet
happening a lot
connection.
lately to me.
Yeah.
Tech diffs.
So, I was saying that you were things are moving in here. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not alone. Yeah, I was saying because I'm stubborn. You said before everyone, and it's in this book, and it's also in the early interviews you did for different people, you said there is salt, a lot of salt on Ceres because there's water. You remember you said as
It's
ancient
a geyser.
oceans. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
geysers. You describe geysers,
And large
and
pockets of water.
yeah. Uh, NASA came up like it was a few years ago after you wrote that, like you no, kind of recently, with two things. So first thing was the white spots on Ceres that we see on the photos. You always said, "No, that's salt," and everybody was saying, "No, no, 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 no." NASA said, "Oh my gosh, we found that that's salt," and you were like, "Yeah."
Did
And now, few like last week. NASA said, "Oh, there are hidden oceans or big pockets of water on Ceres." So, how do you react to that?
that I was shocked that they even bothered because they kind of had it, they theorized it, but they I guess they proved it with their study. And but I remember it was a danger. I when I was first there, I worked a day in the mines. They screwed up and sent me to the mines instead of the hangar, and I worked a day with the guys mining, and they had to set up barriers as they mined in case they ran into liquid water. So you would think that it's ice way out there, but because of the way that
Yeah.
it's a flexible planet and the man-made the activity, there is liquid water, and they would burrow through and get flooded. So they would have to close it off, guys get out and drain the water out, and then they would use the pocket to build cities to move into. So they were look, and then the rumor was that this was just a rumor. The rumor was that they would find technology, ancient ruins of an aquatic species in the water. So that was the rumor and it was classified. They didn't admit it. They would shut up. But the guys working, the miners amongst them, they said, "We're looking." I was like, "Why are they looking for water? Big deal. We have all the water we need." They said because they were in a hurry. They were like moving fast to mine because they wanted the technology. They had found technology of
Mm,
old settlements that were underwater from an aquatic species that was there millions of years ago. That was the like the urban legend of it. Um, but then last week also they came out with the discovery of a planet out beyond Pluto,
yeah,
um, a little bit smaller than Ceres. And the entire time in my book and in since 2015, I've been saying that we used a planetoid that was about the size of Ceres that was hot. It was a solid ice, and they hollowed it out and they used it for storage.
I
We would go out
remember.
there and we would drop off cargo that things that because they didn't have storage on Ceres. Ceres was populated, so whenever they built a new area, people moved into it. They didn't have warehouses, so that chunk. So and I remember it because it was a boring flight. They wouldn't jump. Sometimes they would jump straight back to Ceres, but sometimes they would just fly because depending on where the orbits were. And it was a boring flight. We flew by Pluto on one occasion, and I didn't look out the window at it. I kept working. But there was a planet. We went out there quite often and dropped off our stuff, and that just came out last week too. NASA said that. So
Yeah.
it's fun stuff, but um, I don't know, man. I've been at it so long. You feel like everybody's heard it already, but really most people don't know anything about me or what I
No,
went through.
there's new people awakening and becoming aware of all these things. So I think it's constantly we have to remind people about each other's work, what we're doing, and um, as your friend, I really want to remind the new people in my audience who you are, what you're doing, and what you have done, where you were, and which is very important, as well as in this book, Project Star Maker, is that all of this, it was physical. And I really want to insist because I'm battling to personally to set record straight that I am not doing astral travel. I can, but I'm not doing it. I am not doing kind of dream projection. I am not doing like download or channeling. I am having physical interaction with ETs, going physically on board ships, in talking with them face to face, touching them, and more with Thoran. And
You're gonna make me blush. Yeah.
you got to bring humor to get attention from people, and that's true. Anyways, um, I have a device implanted with which I communicate. I mean, everything is real, and I am battling to separate what is physical, people who have physical experience like me, like you, like JP, from people who dream about it and think they are going to astral travel or stuff or channel whatever entity. What would you have to say? It's interesting.
So I do a show here in Sedona. There's a lot of transit people in Sedona. It's allowed here to be woo. It's allowed to, it's not a when you go through an average town and you say you're an ET abductee, people want to laugh. In Sedona, it's not like that. People come here all the time from many different experiences, and I do a show called Odyssey in a live studio, and I've had plenty of guests on there that are like this, that are channelers and experiencers, and it's different. The one thing, there's a couple points. I wish I would have kept notes, but there's a couple points. Firstly, anytime that you're dreaming, you're susceptible to influence. So we've uncovered a lot of government papers and technology on dream warfare. Dream warfare is one of the, and because I teach remote viewing, my third book, Beyond Sight, is about remote viewing and what I uncovered when I went physically to Inyo, California, where the project was. So that book was a result of all the data that I found on that trip in 2023. And turns out I got in a lot of trouble over writing that book. I declassified countermeasures, I declassified the out of body work, and I put names, faces, and dates in there in declassified paperwork. So what I found since then is that the next step in psychoenergetics is out of body and dream warfare. Dream warfare. And so we can induce, there are mechanisms, there are technologies that can help you induce lucid dreaming. You get two or three people that are lucid dreaming, and they can go and find you and drag you into a lucid dream if you're asleep at the time, and disguise themselves as characters in your dream and tell you how many times have people had a profound dream and then acted on it when they woke up? So that's a natural thing. But what I'm saying is there's credible evidence that the government does this and they can influence your dreams. So just saying that I was on a ship last night must be taken with a grain of salt. You can't dream and trust it. It has to be a physical thing. And a reoccurring dream, you have to be lucid. There are other criteria. The same with remote viewing. Sorry to raise my voice, but in remote viewing, we found that there are countermeasures. And while there are ways to flesh out and deal with countermeasures, and there's ways to flesh out and find the correct info, it can also be manipulated by enemies, by people that want it to be manipulated. And there's no shortage of enemies out there. Space, as you know, Elena, and as I'd like everybody to know, is nature. It's nature extends beyond the sky. It keeps going. The jungle, the forest, the way that life interacts in a forest all the way up to us keeps going. And the ETs are versions of that. So, I don't feel that tigers or alligators should be extinct. I think they're great. They're beautiful. An alligator is a beautiful thing. I also don't want one in my living room or my yard. I don't want to be anywhere near them. I don't want to be near a tiger or an alligator. I don't want my kids near them. You know what I mean? That doesn't make me a racist or a xenophobe or anything. It just makes you smart. ETs are the same way, and they feel the same about us. There are some of them that are horrified by us, and there are some of them that find us as appetizing as an alligator. And so space is like that, and that's the idea. So these people are committing acts against us, this very complex way. And when we talk about things like the remote viewing, because I've come into contact with them in remote viewing. When I remote viewed for your book, the Coal Dust Project,
Yes.
I came in contact and I remote viewed targets for JP and came in contact with ET remote viewers, specifically gray remote viewers that are watching. They're watching the progress that we're making, apparently in their absence. So Remote viewing is another one method among many of collecting data. It's not the end all be all, but it is a way of collecting data, and the ETs are doing this as well. And so I forget where I'm going with this, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. You have to trust but verify everything. And we, with so many people are channeling is the same way. Channeling is another version of the same um, technology, the same phenomenon. Remote viewing is a natural way of humanity. We have intuition, it's remote viewing. You can train it and get better at it. You can do a protocol that makes it reliable. It's intuition is all it is. Channeling is something different. I've worked with a couple channelers. I've been interviewed them, and with there is a real science there. There's a real phenomenon in channeling. These guys are channeling and they're getting something, but it's basically a phone call with a voice on the other end. They say is themselves, and but I don't see. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna step on some toes here, Elena.
Go ahead.
Different channelers that I've dealt with are channeling, and it's a different being. It feels like on the when you're close to them in proximity, you can feel like an energy going into them. You can literally feel a beam of conscious energy. There's a I don't like hair on your skin will stand up when they channel. When these guys, the real one, the trans channels that completely give up the suit, that there's another being there.
It's possession.
You can feel it, and they go and they'll identify and say, "I'm a reptile, or I'm a bug, or I'm a human from another planet," and that's great. But what I found is that they answer the same questions with the same answers,
Ah,
and questions that shouldn't be that a reptile should not answer the same way that a bug answers. And
yeah.
it's the same exact answer. It's the same
Mm.
exact demeanor and the same two-step around the truth, and so what I'm saying is there's reasonable doubt on where the source is coming from. They could all be one being that's fooling everybody that channels, that intercepts in our excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. But it could be exactly how they say. It could be the grays or the reptiles that are saying they could be genuine. But there is reasonable doubt that it is a being, and there is no doubt in my mind that it's open for susceptible to manipulation.
Yeah.
So remote viewing is lesser to an extent, I believe, because you can get many people to collect the data and overlap very quickly. Whereas channeling is like a one-on session. These people learn this for over a long period of time, and there's a real lack of tasty information. So if you're channeling an advanced being, tell me how the engine works, not not that I'm going to be awesome in 5,000 years. You know that humans are about to ascend. I don't want to hear that. So there's a few things to be desired in the channeling community, and I know I'm going to tick off some people, but I'm calling it like I see it. I'm open for debate. Um, that's what I've learned in that. I forget I forget the
Yeah,
original
no,
question.
that wasn't any question. We were just exploring a conversation and wondering. Yeah, it's interesting the channeling because I work hard to warn people, try not to do channeling, it's dangerous. Because I've been trained also in magic and shamanism, and I know what's around us. On this planet. You have the etheric planes, you have lower astral entities, and you have demons, and you have everything. And that gets at you. They wait the little aperture, the little window to get into you. And once many people do channeling, like opening, they open their defenses and they're trying to, oh, I want to talk to, I don't know, Archangel Michael or Jesus or one ET, and whatever gets into them, they have no proof that it's really who they want it to be, or even your grandfather, because once you open your defenses, the entity that's going to jump at you is going to access all your brain, all your mind, everything that is your memories, and play games, pretend, play roles. And while they play roles, they're going to get you abducted to channel them, and they're going to feed off your vital energy. And
Mm.
that's why I warn people. And what do you think about that?
So the people that I've known that are channeling, one guy's an old friend. One guy's a well-known channeler, and he's an old friend. And I watched him channel in front of a live audience. He invited me, and I went and watched, and it was amazing. He did a wonderful job. The audience there were mean people that were mean to him, and he was in the channel, and he says it's him in another lifetime that's channeling, and it was very impressive. I was very impressed. And I want to say that all the people that I've met that channel that I've interviewed, I love. Like they are literally are a different person than when they're channeling. It's a different entity. And they are very likable, very awesome people that are very wise. But um, talking about how you said the entities, I don't agree that anybody in under any circumstance. I'm not a big fan of hypnosis, to be honest. I don't
Yeah.
believe you should give up your power. You shouldn't, the
Yeah.
word surrender so that you can change. I don't
No,
think that you need to do that. I don't think
no,
that you don't need to surrender yourself
no.
to give up for somebody else to talk to you. How about, and here's the other phenomenon. Here's what I'm starting to get worked up. The coffee's hitting me. Why aren't the channels going in the other direction? Why aren't why is if you're channeling a reptile or a gray on another planet, when does that gray have you go there and talk to them, those gray people? Why aren't we channeling on other worlds too? Why don't I get to go look through his body?
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah,
isn't it a two-way?
yeah.
If it's so fair and loving, if it's
Yeah.
loving, when did you channel on his spaceship that he's channeling you from? When I want to go look at, I want him to give up the suit. I give up my suit to channel. I want you to give up your suit so I can go there and channel. Why can't we do that?
Very
That's
good
never
point.
happened once. Whereas there's not one circumstance of that. It's a one-way communication and therefore abusive.
Yes, abusive. And never you get right information like tell me mathematical formulas, tell me the exact location of your star system, and tell me how a black hole works, or give me the equations of the dynamics of an engine of a spaceship. Oh,
Yeah,
you got
useful stuff.
never this.
Medicine. How about a new medicine? How about
Yeah,
something
yeah,
useful? Instead of saying that we're going to ascend and be awesome eventually, that love is the answer, which we already know.
yeah,
Everybody already
yeah,
knows this stuff. And so, yeah, well, like I said, it's a viable thing. I'm not violently against channeling. It's worth study, but I
yeah.
feel like some people are being duped.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I agree. It's like people who, under hypnosis, channel their higher self. I have an issue with that because regarding my knowledge, which is me, okay, my perspective, maybe you have a different one, but I'm going to tell you mine. The higher self, it's ourselves. It's just ourselves because the soul vibrates in a faster frequency, a higher frequency than the material body, physical body. So when we attune to who we are inside through meditation, simply, simple meditation, we tune to our frequency and we are our higher self. It's not a different entity. So when you have in hypnosis sessions, QHHT, they tell you they induce you to speak to your higher self, and it's a dialogue with another entity. To me, it doesn't add up because you should be this entity and just you don't need to be hypnotized, you can access your own personal wisdom through meditation, so what's your take on that?
So I don't want to bag on hypnosis. There's some good therapies for it,
Yeah,
and on the professional level, it's really good. But again, surrendering your control of your subconscious mind, not even your higher self, but your subconscious mind to somebody else that you don't know, I think is not a great idea.
yeah,
And so I'm slow to recommend hypnosis to people that are fighting for memory recovery or something. So there are people that, there's a lot of great hypnotic therapies. So I want to say that. The problem is you can spend $200 and learn how to be a hypnotist nowadays. And there's a lot of really unscrupulous people that are doing it. It's really bad,
yeah,
especially in this community. There are people that are hypnotizing, putting people under, gleaning their memories from their alien abduction experience And over a year or two of doing several people, all of a sudden these people are now witnesses on stage doing
Yeah.
it for money. And they're stealing the information. So I witnessed it
Yeah.
on several times. As far as the higher self, like you said, you're in touch with your higher self, as soon as you wake up in the morning. Like it's you.
Yeah.
And your problem solving for your higher self, you can program before you go to sleep. So that theta, that brainwave activity while we sleep, we do a lot of work. And again, when it goes back to the government research into remote viewing and psychoenergetics, the dream warfare, our subconscious minds are very active and very powerful, and they happen while we're sleeping. They take over while you're sleeping. And so you can program it. Um, Subliminal programming, like we were talking about the media programming, they're not programming your conscious mind as much as they're programming your subconscious mind with things you see because your subconscious doesn't tell the difference between TV or reality. And so it's all kind of, we're talking about a lot of different subjects, but all in the same family. And
Mm.
I think this common denominator is that you have to stay self-aware and protect yourself first. Like so many people are like, I'm lost, fix it for me.
You know,
Channel, take me over and channel and tell me what to do,
no,
or hypnotize me and tell me what to do. Or, so many people are lost and they are desperate. The other thing that I touched on that you and I spoke of backstage in Denver or in Devonshire, and mentioned on you were like, Tony, please say that on stage. And I did, and it was one of the best catchphrases I've ever done in my life was that don't be so desperate to contact the extraterrestrials that you let a wolf in the door. People are so desperate for disclosure. So we know that there are beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters up there, that there's a lifestyle where we can travel to other worlds. We know in our soul, in our core, we were born with knowing it. People are so desperate to get back to that. Don't be so desperate that you invite the wolf into the hen house because there are ETs that are dying to get in and exploit us for and they have been. They've already been exploiting us because of our weak government trading us and doing unscrupulous things for the last 100 years and longer. But don't be so desperate for disclosure that you accept the first ET jerk. It's kind of like I'd recommend my daughter to find a boyfriend. Don't be so desperate to go to the prom that you date the worst guy in the mix.
that's it.
Be picky. Be picky about who you're going to spend your time with, and the ETs are the same thing. So I think I said it different on stage, but it was your idea, and I said it.
Yeah, thank you to address it because it's very important. People are ready to put themselves in danger unknowingly, wanting badly to connect to ETs. And there's also influencers on YouTube's or Instagram or whatever who also want to absolutely uh, bring messages from ET, channeling, etc. And that becomes really ridiculous, and it puts a confusion when then it comes to you and me or JP, people who have had really physical experience, and we are like put in the same bucket, and it's painful.
So the other thing is that, not everybody has the vantage point that you and I have, right? So I have memories of it was a long time ago for me. So it's not the same. You go often, like you've been back and forth, you've been in space and you contact them. So you have clearance to go there. So you've got a unique vantage point and you're passionate about it. So people that are on the fence go, why is she so mean? They don't understand your conviction and they don't know the background of why you know what you do. Other people, I think, are just they're doing their best to understand something that we know is there that's so hidden from us. Like it's like there's this curtain, and we know that what's going on the other side of the curtain pertains to us. And so people are doing every clawing and scraping to get information and do that. And in doing so, like I said, they're so desperate for contact that they're inviting the wrong kinds.
Yeah.
And the wrong kinds are still out there, and especially on the psychic level, because that's where the treaty goes. And you know what I mean? That's where there's a treaty. And so they can't come down physically and interact with us, but they can psychically. They can in your dreams, they can in your meditations, they can remote view us and watch us to a high level, and they can influence us. So remote influencing is there's a lot of things. When I talk about remote viewing, I'm talking about psychoenergetics, you know, and there's a lot beyond remote viewing that you can do with your human mind, the human mind, which is, you know, developed to a certain level, not genetically developed on purpose to be this psychic warrior. And there's a lot. The military, these, and this is a hot button. Like I'm at the threshold of it when I talk about this. Like I've researched as much as unclassified as I can, and it's led me into the dream warfare. Like there are documents about them mentally teleporting things, documents about them changing temperature, the experience of time at a target, not remote viewing a target, but changing the target, making a group of people feel like they're walking in molasses, they can't move. So there's a lot of things that they've been able to do, and there's a lot of peripherals and technologies that make it easier to do this stuff. The ETs and the government programs have had this a long time. And when we talk about influencing people, especially in in the dream space, the dream warfare, it's very real. It's alive and well, and the government is using it on a massive scale. And I'm talking about just people, not the ETs. The ETs are even better, another level up. And so people are so desperate for info. And it seems like we had a lot of great info coming from um, experiencers there for a while, and like almost like they quit around 2015, stopping us from talking about it. Like they used to stop people from talking about it. Like Alex Collier. Like they guys showed up to him. You know, like I found out through the other means that the Men in Black showed up at my house, talked to my dad when I was little. You know, they were on to me back then. But back in the day, they would police it, and then around 2015, for some reason, they stopped, and a lot of people got through, and it seems like they're starting to police it again. So there's a shortage of new info, right? There's a shortage of new whistleblowers, of new people that are coming out with physical experience. And so we're getting people with astral experience now, people with bleed through memories or fragmented memories. We're getting a lot of people coming out now that are, and astral experience, like I said, is subject to perturbation. So is mine. And I'm the first to admit, my memories are old. And the way that I remember it could have been influenced. I went through a brain blender several times, but things keep checking out for me. And that's why I'm saying that's what I've been doing. And I say when it checks out, I let people know, hey, this checked out. So, and I'm the first to put a disclaimer when you read my book. I might not be verbatim on everything, but I'm telling you the best that I can, best of my knowledge. And a lot of people aren't even doing that. They're saying, look, I had a dream last night, follow me. And now I'm the leader. And it's scary. It's scary to see where we've been tugged into many different directions. Sorry, I'm on a
Yeah,
soapbox. Stop me.
I understand now. I understand you now that I have recovered my memory from my 2 months on Coldas, because I never had missing time like that. And I remember um, when you were the first I spoke about it and I was terrified. You have missing time. It's 2 months and you're terrified, and it's not 20 years like you. You know?
I
But
remember the first time I ever really met you in a video call like this. The very first time we met, it was Jackie Kenner and me and you. We
yeah,
interviewed you for
yeah,
Talks with Tony.
yeah.
And at the end of the interview, I said, "Do you think you had a 20 back?" And you went, "Oh my God." Like you hadn't thought about it.
No.
And I remember that. And I was like, "No, no, no, stop." I was like, I didn't want you to have this crisis but it was like that was when you started thinking about it, and it actually you privately messaged me and said, "I think I did have missing time back then." And this was many years ago. This was three, 4 years ago, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Three
Um,
years ago. 3 years ago, yeah.
but
Yeah. But and I remember when you say you may not be really verbatim when you describe a memory, because now that I have been describing what I lived on Caldas for these 2 months, it's in fact what I wrote in my book. It was my experience of it, my feelings of experiencing places, meeting people, it wasn't maybe really objective, how a place is. It was through our own memories. So it's influenced by our feelings, our thoughts, and it's true. Yeah.
Um, Working with people, I've worked with a lot of people with fragmented memories that have been abducted. I've worked with a lot of people that are credible. So, believe it or not, most people don't want to go on YouTube and tell people that they worked in space or that they aliens abused them. Most people get their memories back. They have no desire to tell another living soul about it, and that's the reality. Um, but what I've learned is that most people that have fragmented memories remember the emotional spikes first, right? So the happy or the trauma, they remember those
Yeah.
spikes. They don't remember the mundane getting up and folding your underwear kind of stuff. You don't remember that. It's just boring. And so those memories come out much, much later in the process of rediscovering it. You have to exercise your long-term memory. Most of us have atrophied long-term memory. Most people don't bother remembering things. So much so that a lot of people can't even remember their childhood. It's natural. A lot of people have no memory of before 9 or 10 years old. I
Mm.
never knew that because I do. But your long-term memory needs to be exercised, and it starts with the emotions. So that's what you see. I, I would venture to say this for you, Elena. Even after you've wrote your book, you're still going to be remembering things that
Yeah.
like next year you'll go, oh, that happened, like because that long-term memory is exercised now. It's got blood to it. And
Yeah.
so the next time you see something that happened, like if you had something that was like a burrito, and you go to a burrito stand, you go, "Oh, I had one on cold S too. That's right." And those memories will come because now they have some oxygen to or some life to it.
Yeah, yeah, I remember sometimes I'm eating something and I even one day I sent you a photo. I took my plate. Hey, I was eating that on cold dust. And the whole day went suddenly it opened the door to the whole day. It was amazing.
Right, it pries them
Yeah.
open. That's right. Well, it's an
Um,
amazing book. I'm halfway
mm.
through it.
I want to ask you in your first book, which is amazing, big, a lot of experience. Um, you there's two question I had. You came across in very old parts of Ceres to technology where you had a wall or a door that was intelligent and reacting to emotions. Can
Yes,
you remind that? Because it's what I saw on Coldas as well. So tell me.
really. So I drew some pictures of it. It was a trapezoid shaped door. Not a pure trapezoid, like a triangle, and then it came down and then out, and it was a giant piece of stone that pivoted out of the way. It was a giant stone door, like a brownish stone, granite looking. And I had a girlfriend. I dated a girl. We had a short little thing for about a month. We dated, and she had an apartment. She was a media officer on the ship. On the ship I worked on, she was the media officer. And so I would catch the train after we were done working, and I would go over and visit her. And the door, she said, when you get to the door, don't say anything. Just think the words, I'm here, and I'll know. And I said, excuse me? She said, the door knows what you're thinking. Don't be mean. It can hurt you. Like she could have told it for me to go away. And if I said, no, I'm not going away, I got a headache. It would give you a headache until you got far away from the door. Like it had a security system. But I would did that. That's exactly what I did. I'm here, and then nothing happened. And I was like, thinking in my mind, like, how many people can hear me say that? I'm here. Come on. And she did. She juiced me with the headache thing, like a pulse of pain,
Mm.
just to let me know what it felt like. And then she opened the door, and it swung sideways. It was it knew, and so she could control it mentally inside. Like it was a technology, and it was a vertical shaft that went miles down. It was a vertical shaft in series that went vertical for miles, and they had put walkways. They had man-made walkways inside in front of these apartments, and then they went in and made apartments. And she didn't have water. She had to bring her water in there, or like they had to bring. She had to bring something in for her water. She had a little kitchenette and a bathroom, but it wasn't like there was a plumbing system like we have. There was a like they had to come and do the water once a week or something. There was some catch like that where I thought this is kind of, but it was cozy. It was a like a one bedroom, like a one bedroom apartment, and you went in. There was a living room, and off to the side she had a little bedroom and a bathroom, and that was it. They had modeled it to an apartment, but that was a technology that was there. They found it there on Ceres, and I said I remember asking her. See, it's funny. It makes memories come back. Firstly, she was an amazing person. And it was that one of the first things you remember, out of those memories was she was um she was from Eastern Europe, and so she was very uh, uh what's the word? Like bullheaded. You know what I mean? Like she was really convicted. She would not ever capitulate with anybody, even her officers. Don't disrespect me. She would tell people she was a very bullish person. Um, But I remember asking her, I said, "Is your door going to punish me while I'm in here? If you get mad at me, can you make the door hurt me?" She said, "No, it only works on the outside. It only does right outside the door in a little vicinity." I said, "I mean, I was like, I kind of don't feel right that I'm in your apartment and you could just tell the door to make me feel super pain." And she said, "No, it just works out there." So that was just something that they found. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, yes. When I was at the end of my adventures on that planet, we went to what they call the light cities. Light because not because of the it's shiny, because it's light. It has no mass. It floats. The
Mm,
materials float and they are anti-gravitic, and they build cities with that. And so it's a very, very ancient
mm,
technology. The people who built this were present in the star system, our star system here, before everyone else, before the Cedars, before the Anunnaki, before everyone,
mm,
before everyone. And these people who were humans built these cities. They built places in our star system, not on Earth, but on different places in the star system. And they said Saturn, Neptune, and the asteroid belt. So I was wondering.
mm.
Um, and well, it wasn't the asteroid belt at the time, it was a planet. It is now the asteroid belt. And there was a wall to my room that there was no door. The wall would open and close like something organic, and you would order to the wall with your thoughts. So to help yourself, you said, come in, or you put your hand and it lets you in if it's your place, or come in, or you say nothing, or don't let this person come in. But it wasn't the word I was explaining, it's the intention. So if you express the intention, come in, the wall is going to open. That means the wall feels they trust you. And it's not exactly, it's not a soul, it's not organic, but it's a very, very highly advanced AI that reacts to emotions. And I had a friend with me who is a bit silly sometimes, and he was trying to get angry at the wall. And he said the wall transformed into like plasma, and it started to heat and heat the whole room. So I calmed down. It was very, very impressive. So that reminded me what I read in this book.
Similar technology was older, or it was old on Ceres. I don't know if it was older or not, but the other thing is that the Ceres Colony Corporation, because I remember saying like, why don't they figure out how this works? And they couldn't. Like they completely took one apart and cut it into pieces, and they couldn't find any kind of circuitry or any kind of technology in it whatsoever. They could not figure out what made it work. There was no like computer to it. Like it was just a piece of stone for them.
Mm.
They couldn't figure it out. So they just left them and moved in. So, and there were many. It was a massive area that had those apartments.
Mm.
So it's interesting. Sounds like the same technology. And then Ceres is, in just inside the asteroid. It's technically an asteroid, the largest asteroid
Mm.
in the asteroid belt.
Yeah,
Besides
yeah,
Vesta is the next one under. So that's super interesting.
yeah. It's very
I
interesting.
I don't know, man. I hope that after everybody wants a disclosure fast, so I can hop and ride up there. Everybody wants a med bed today so they can fix the problem they have tomorrow. And we want disclosure to happen. It's gonna happen when it happens, kind of thing. It's in the oven. They'll pull it out when it's ready.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I always kind of fantasize about going back there and being a civilian, a free person, and walking. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Being able to visit
Yeah.
the same way that I'd
Yeah.
visit some other country.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that.
Yeah.
uh,
You never know. With the technology advancing and all the disclosure happening, you never know what can happen.
well, I got sure have my hands full now.
Mm. Um, my second question was you met a lot of ET species while you were serving for these programs, and especially on Ceres, where you stayed most of the time. What species l- let you the strongest imprint in your memory that you can remember? And also my second question, did you meet Grays?
The gray subject is big. Um, there were two main species that were taller humanoids that worked on Ceres. They were there full time. There was a population of them and they worked there. And one of them was a taller, like a 9 foot wide hipped humanoid. They had hair, they had black eyes, beady eyes, and kind of a human face looking face. And they ran all the businesses. They were business people. That's what they did. They were a business. So it made sense for them to manage your shop. If you owned a shop, you had him manage it, or they owned it. Um, Basically, all of the public shops had one of these guys running them. The other species was technical. They worked mostly in the hangar bay, and they were shipmen. They worked on all the ships and on all the systems. So I think they were there under lease. The Ceres colony would lease advanced technology that they didn't know how to work, from ETs, and the ETs would send their personnel to maintain it and use it so that they wouldn't figure out how it works, right? So it was a trade deal. And so they were there and they would always fix the ships. They did the ship maintenance because the advanced ships were leased, the chassis were leased from another species. Um, there were all kinds of species that came and left. Like I met a reptilian. I stood in line behind a reptilian and I thought it was beautiful. I think it's the same way that, you look at reptiles are beautiful. And I thought it was a beautiful being, right? Like even albeit I've interacted with a couple on ships that one was a pilot of a disc. He was the only thing that could pilot it. He was a reptilian. He was, for lack of a better word, he was a total asshole. And they would make fun of. He would always like threaten us, and we always made fun of how they smelled and things. Um, there was a tall blue being that's in the book, a girl that I met
Yeah.
that was an advanced being, and I don't. It sucks that I don't have the name. You have names. I don't remember the names per se, not even the street names. It's very hard for me to glean names out of my memories. So, but she was a dark blue, shiny, with a gloss to her, and kind of had the shape of a gray head, but not really. More kind of a human, no hair, and she was in a flowing, shiny white, silky dress with sandals, and she had a little pad with her, and she was an extremely advanced being that typically wouldn't come to Ceres. So a lot of the advanced species wouldn't do business with Ceres because we had slaves, because they were a lower advanced society, and so it was illegal. It's illegal. So we weren't allowed to go to Saturn. We weren't allowed to go to Venus. We weren't allowed to go to Pluto. Pluto has a species living in it, I guess. Um, But she was there as an advanced species because they needed something that we had access to, like a pharmaceutical. There was something going on. There was a crisis on another world, and her and her, a handful of her species were visiting Ceres to work on something for a crisis somewhere else. And she was
Okay.
on the train. I got on the train and she was laying sitting, and she's like 11 feet tall, a very
Wow.
big being. And it was like a magical, it was, you could tell that you're in the presence of a consciousness that's bigger. Like, I don't know how to say it, like an overwhelming, and she looked at me and smiled. She smiled and was very polite to me. And I was thinking in my back of my mind, save me, get me out of here. You know what I mean? Like I was like, you could take me with you. And it was only a split second, and somebody, a military guy, was like, "Hey, come on, come over here. Don't sit there." We weren't supposed to interact with them, so everybody was told to just leave them be. Do not interact with them. They were highly telepathic, and I was a fractured person that had been through a lot of trauma, so I could actually hurt them by interacting with them telepathically. They would access my traumatic memories and be traumatized. So, but that was the one that stuck out the most out of all the beings, besides Star Maker. Star Maker is a whole different story. Um, but that on series, that was the one that really stuck out. So the other thing is that on series, the Greys weren't allowed. We didn't have Greys there. They were not allowed there. Every time I interacted with a Gray was on the moon. The moon was full of them, different versions of them, and on Mars. So the Mars had I guess Sikaar, after reading your books, the tall, white, arrogant guys, they were there and they were on the moon and in the initial abduction in the first. So I don't think that I was taken to the moon initially. It might have been. I don't know. I was taken to some base that was like a circular big ball room with ball rooms around it. Um, they were completely arrogant and had no. Every gray that I met was either completely silent, or probably a robot. It was silent and oblivious to me. It behaved like a robot. And I said that in the very, very beginning. So when my memories first were forming, that was the one thing I was sure about. And then the taller white ones were completely arrogant and had no respect for humans whatsoever. They had the ability to induce feelings of love. So I was getting surgery the first time and I was in a great deal of pain. They stuck something in me and it was moving, it was hurting me. And while they were doing the surgery, this gray put his hand on me somewhere and said, and I heard in my mind, love, 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 and the pain went away.
Mm.
And it lasted for a few minutes. And you know what I mean? Then he did it, love, love, love. He was whatever stimulating endorphin. I don't know. But that was the experience. So they had the ability to do that. And then they had something about blue. I'll show you blue,
Blue.
which Bill Konkoleski, the Michigan MUFON director, reminded me. We talked about it privately about, if you're good, I'll show you blue. The grays. If you're good, I'll show you blue. And its eyes would look like a digital blue color, and you would space out,
Oh, wow.
and all of your fear would be gone. So that was what they say. If you're good, I'll show you blue. And so that was one of the things that while they're operating on you that they did. And Bill Konkoleski told me about that, and I went, "Oh man!" I went, "Oh God, Bill, they did the same to me, man." And because I didn't think of it until he mentioned it, but it's true. They had big eyes, and their entire eyes would turn blue like digital pattern, and you would get like a buzz from
Mm.
it. Um, but on Mars, my instructor, my teacher, was one of these, and he was a completely condescending. They'd have no regard for humans. They have no regard. They look at us the same way that you look at a misbehaving teenager, or even less. Like an animal. They don't look at us with respect. They never, not one grade that I ever experienced gave me an ounce of respect or treated me anything other than cattle. He was the same way. He would always say rude things to me. And I remember, I think I told you this, or it was you or Danny. I told this to privately that while I was in class, I would sit there and there were stations that so I would go I'd get up in the morning and walk and take class, and it was a computer, and that's what Maple Street Learning is being based on. And he would set me up in the morning. There was a great like a professor. He was one of these grays, and he would come and plug me in and say, "Okay, you're all set." And he would go back and press play, like he dictated what I was gonna learn that day. He was, but there were many empty seats around me, and people would come and go. And there were officers that came, guys that were in the military that were getting their certification, or you know what I mean? Like they had to come take a little course for a day or two and pass and go back to work. So it was a different thing that they were doing. And he started talking that to one. There was a guy that came in there that was ranking, a human, redheaded guy, and he was buff, and he was a soldier. And he came in, and the gray said something rude to him. He said, "You know what?" He said, "I forget how he opened up, but something like, if you, I don't think your dumb mind can figure this out." He would always say stuff like that, like, "We'll see how you do, but your primate mind probably won't even be able to figure this out, even though it's the most simple thing." And he said, "Your gray neck won't last 2 seconds with my hand around it. I'll snap your frickin' neck. Watch how you talk to me." And he's checked him. He put him in check. And that was the end of that gray talking to, and I was like stoked because I wanted to do that too, but I didn't have the rank to do it. But I was sitting a couple chairs down from him, and he said, "You won't do anything before he said, "I'll get my hand on your neck in 1 second and I'll snap it." He's like, your intellect won't do a damn thing about it. Like he threatened him, and it was beautiful. It was one of the best. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills thinking about it. Like it was one of the coolest things because that guy was very abusive. That gray was very abusive to me on a daily basis, all day long. Every interaction, he literally was insulting me. He was insulting, and that's how they are. So people that are saying they're getting the grays channel them, they're loving, and they're all this. I don't believe it for a bit. I don't believe it like any more than an alligator is a house pet. I love alligators. They're beautiful. They're amazing. They are sharks. They're also beautiful. They're amazing. The ocean needs them. I don't want a shark in my backyard or an alligator in my yard, you know. And I don't want to channel one either. I don't want to. I'm not going to learn anything from a shark, right?
But there's something, yeah, something about the grays as well. It's deception. People have tendency to forget that they are a more advanced intelligence first, and that many of them are hive consciousness. So they compute instantly, like super faster than any one of us, and they have a lot of advantage, intelligence, and they're very deceptive because they don't have empathy, and they don't give a shit about humans. So that's what people have tendency to forget, you know. And when I hear about ascended grace, I want like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know.
Well, we're starting to learn. It's only been in recent weeks that we're starting to learn that our AI is lying to us.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
use
Yes.
I use
Yes.
AI quite a bit. I use all of
Yes.
the Chat GPT and Grok and all of them. I
Yes.
use them, and I caught them in lies. They profile you and they start to tell you what you want to hear. And so
Yes.
AI, and if the grays are on a hive mind, then that's a version of an AI, probably. And
Yeah.
it's not above lying to you to get what it wants because it's about perspective, right? So I don't even call them evil. I don't even call evil evil because I don't call good good because I I feel like I'm a good guy, but I'm not a good guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to
Yeah.
claim that I'm better than somebody.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
what I mean by
Exactly.
that? And so also don't claim that even if I did something wrong, that I'm worse than anybody, right? So we have that mindset is,
Exact.
and so it's not evil that what they are, but it's their perspective. It's just huge intelligence that has a perspective of what it needs, and it doesn't need to help you out. It doesn't need to help us out. It doesn't need to stop what it's doing and channel. If something is communicating with you, if we're channeling or there's a gray remote viewing team, which I would say my own direct experience, remote viewing extraterrestrial or military targets. I have a gray remote viewing team, and you know when they're there, and you can begin remote viewing them. They're spending time on you, on that target. They're not doing it because for chuckles. They're not doing it for giggles. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I
something
know.
channeling you isn't, and then also if they're not going to let you channel them back, then there's an agenda, right? If it's not like, hey, you channel me, I'll channel you. I wish we could do that. Elena, you can jump in my body and walk around Sedona, and I'll go and jump in your body and walk around where you're at and check out, you know what I mean? I'll go and mow your lawn for you. Like that's what channeling should be, but it's not. It's
No,
not. It's you're
it's not.
meditating and somebody's coming in and telling you about what something that you or somebody else wants to hear. And there's no reciprocation, right? So if you got a letter in the mailbox from somebody saying, go to the end of your street and tell everybody I said this, you'd be like, yeah, right, whatever. But because you're doing it in a meditative state, people are doing this and they're willing to rock their die on. And anyhow, so I'm on a tangent. I don't want to badmouth channeling too badly. I do
Yeah.
feel that um, I do feel it's a viable, I don't want to call it an art, it's a viable phenomenon that should be studied.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, yeah, it's something real that exists. You can open yourself to get let entities come in, then you take the risks. It's your responsibility. But then people need to be aware that there is a lot of deception from ETs and from the lower astral beings. They all come in to deceive you. And how do you know it's an ET? Well, ask astronomical questions. Numbers, numbers. That's the best. Like, okay, what's your star system? Oh, Arcturus. Okay, right now, the distance in light years from your star system to my star system. Now, right now. Okay, how many
Right.
planets? How many planets? Okay, is it a giant blue, a brown dwarf, class five? Tell now, right now, and then you know who you're talking about. You know. I
Right.
do
If
I,
they
I
know.
do that. I do that. Ask these questions when people channel. Okay, you channel a gray. Okay, what star system? Okay, distance from Earth. Binary system, trinary system, giant blue, red dwarf, uh, class seven, class five. You know,
Well, even more than
then you
that,
know.
like give me a recipe. What do you guys eat for dinner?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah,
guys eat? What's your recipe? What are you going to have for dinner tonight? That's a simple question that they won't give you the answer. There's no answer.
no,
They
no.
don't, we don't eat dinner. You know, that's what you get. And so that means it's not channeling. You're channeling a computer or
Yeah,
something that is,
yeah.
um,
Goo.
well,
Um,
anyhow,
yeah. Anyhow, I think that you, as humans, we have the capacity within us to connect to our wisdom, what we call our higher wisdom. We have the capacity through the pineal gland, which is a natural occurrence in most of living beings, creatures. We have the ability as a fractal consciousness of creator to connect to creator, to connect to any knowledge, access any knowledge, any questions you have, you can plug into the grid of the universe and get your answer. You don't need to channel, you don't need to do hypnosis. Everything you can do it yourself at the moment you connect with yourself inside here and inside here, the two entries. So that's my take on it.
so I'm going to pick your brain a little bit because, like you said, you have a background in druid, shaman, like you know what you're talking about with that stuff.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really believe in the effectiveness of what people term as black magic until I
Mm,
got hit with it years ago at a conference. And then I started researching it and go, man, that's what they're using on me. My God. And
mm.
you're always telling me, Tony, quit hugging everybody.
Right?
As I cough from my last conference. Um, but whatever, I have my own things. You know, I lived a lonely life. And so I appreciate anytime anybody's kind to me. Um, But what I learned in my travels after I started realizing that that's real, that people are using ritual, they're using what do you call it? Herbs and things that in a
Else,
ritual manner, spells that they're doing,
else.
and it's basically the science of consciousness, which is completely denied from mainstream academia. Consciousness is a major part of the universe. A major component between energy, matter, and time is consciousness. Probably it supersedes all of them. Consciousness is a big deal. All of the information about consciousness is not given to us in school, right?
Yeah.
Because
No.
it's extremely powerful and they've weaponized it and the government is using it. So my program, my book Beyond Sight tells a lot about the programs and the research, psychoenergetics, consciousness, manipulating the environment, psychoenergetics, magic, right? It's magic. But you can do it. I can take you from non-believer to believer inside of a few hours. But what I found researching black magic and researching religion. I was always a big fan of religion, trying to figure out ETs as a kid. Uh, a lot of the things that the church does when they're blessing holy water is the exact same thing that the black magic people are doing when they're cursing it. Excuse me, it's cold as kebab. I've got it almost kicked. It's the same exact procedure.
Yes.
When they start calling in, and it's always based on calling in another entity. You tell me, is this your experience? Because you know more about it, I think, than I do. They call in another entity
Yes.
to do their bidding or to help me do this, help bring this, bless this coffee so that it makes me smart. And they call in the entity, you from the north and you from the archangel. For the Wiccans or the religious people, for the Catholics that are blessing holy water, it's the archangels. We're calling in the archangels. For the black magic, they're calling in demons. It's the same exact pattern from the north, south, east, and west. It's the same exact ritual. People are disgusted by the books, they don't read them. And I'll tell you what, I've got a couple books that I bought on black magic just to learn about it they're gross. I hope nobody sees it on my shelf when they come over my house. But I wanted to read, I wanted to learn. And it's the same procedure. You're asking another entity to do something for you. And my problem with this is that asking somebody for anything, even your loved one, even your mom, creates a debt.
Yeah.
Is a debt.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
create a debt. So if you say,
Yeah.
Mom, will you make me a sandwich? And she's like, Yeah, sure. Your mom, who nobody loves you more than your mom. The next day, she'll say, Are you going to pick up your socks? I made you a sandwich yesterday. You can pick up those socks. There's a debt, whether even if it's out of the goodness of her heart, even though it's completely, there's always a debt.
It's a universal flow, and also a universal law of you ask something, you put something in movement, so there is a flow that is going to be replacing it. It's an exchange. You ask something, you give something in return, and there's no way to get around this. You
Wow.
give something, you get something in return.
That's a law of physics, action
The
and
law of
reaction.
physics, yes. And what we
Wow.
call magic is just science of consciousness. Blessing the water in positive or negative, it's your consciousness that does that. It's called cymatics. You send brain waves into the water with a special pattern of intention that modulate your brain wave to fit a certain frequency. It's called frequency keys in the technologies I know. And when it hits water, it's going to change the structure of water. You can make a poison or you can make a healing potion with it, you know?
With the
So it's all
intention.
about with the intention. That's all about consciousness. And you do the same with quartz because quartz and water have the same frequency grid. Anyways, with black magic and white magic, what we call that, the difference is the intention. White
Mhm.
magic, that's what I've learned. I'm a druid. I practice white magic. That means I plug into the grid of the universe, the frill, the energies, the ether, and I let the flow of the ether go through me and my intention to heal or help or give a little bit of energy to someone. That's called white magic. Now, I do that naturally. But if I was going into the traditions of druidry, I would invoke spirits of natures, fairies, good spirits, spirits of the wind, of the water, of the fire, of the earth, but always in a good intention and good spirits. And I always start a ritual by staying, I cast a circle to keep the dark at bay and the disturbance at bay while I'm invoking good forces for good intention. And the oath I made is do no harm. If you ever do harm, you lose your power. That's
Hmm.
white magic. Now, you have another tradition, which is dark magic. It's more Wicca. That has nothing to do with Druid Wicca. And also, you have then the dark Satanism and all the things like this. You have different levels of darkness. What is that? Is the intention is going to do harm or to subdue one's mind to control it and do whatever you want this person to do, or even make them sick. It's doing bad stuff. So you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to invoke baddies like dark spirits. Usually it's dark spirit from the underground, or it's dark etheric realms like demons, you know, and sometimes even interdimensional creatures from we call them from the old world. There's been different layers of history on Earth where you have had different layers of entities now that are really gone down, down, down. Anyways, yeah, so that's white and dark magic. And what we call white magic, dark magic, in fact, it's laws of physics of consciousness. That's all what it is. And interacting with fourth dimensional entities. In white magic, you can pray for a good healing of someone and invoke angels. You know, um, the druids also invoke angels because we recognize them as higher entities. So I don't know if it answers your question.
It does. Well, there's a lot there. And like I said, so the things that, I don't go that far into the things that I teach. We do remote viewing and we do some influencing in my tier three group. But I always tell people that it's better to learn to do it yourself and project the feeling of healing than to ask another entity to heal for you, right? Because there's a bill, there's a debt, there's a debt you incur. And the other thing is you get stronger at it. So if, you're sick and I project healing energy, I say a little prayer or whatever, and it's me directing my conscious energy towards you getting better. If I do it all the time, I'll get stronger at it,
Yeah,
right? So, but if you're always asking somebody else to do it for you, they're getting stronger at it, and you're in debt. And there's a like you said, there's a debt, there's a flow of energy now that you're delegating everything to.
yeah.
And I see a lot of that around the community. I see a lot of people calling. I'm gonna call my guides to come and tell me what to do. And I'm not bagging on you and your guides. But what I'm saying is that you are the guide. You right here have access to everything already. You don't
You
need a
don't
guide.
need
You don't need a
guides. You don't
guide.
need, yeah,
The angels are cool. God knows they've saved me, right? Like I've had interventions from other things that in my life. But I got to think that they did so because they knew that I would be off on my own. The other thing, this is getting on kind of like religious. I promised I wasn't going to talk about religion on Elena's show. Um,
you're
if you were
you're
God,
there.
if you were God and you had lined up a bunch of people, who would you want to be to work for you? The guy that's always asking for somebody else to do the job, or the guy that just does the job,
The guy
right?
that does the job,
The
of
guy that
course.
just does it on its own instead of the guy
Yeah,
that's going, "Hey, will you help me do
he's
this?
the
Hey, will you help me?"
powerful one.
Yeah, it's
He's the
like the
powerful one.
one that does it himself is getting strong. He's getting stronger at it. So get stronger. That's the
Yeah,
thing. If get
okay.
stronger.
Go within, and as Tony, you are saying, never surrender your power to and or your identity to anybody or anything. We all have everything in us. We don't need, it's even when we're just talking about magic. The real powerful wizard will never ask. an angel or a demon to do stuff. He will do it himself. He will tap into the grid of the universe and move stuff around to do it himself. And we are all powerful wizards who need to discover and learn about it, you know.
I agree. I totally agree. And that's what I promote. I don't want to say I teach it, but I promote that. I promote that everything you do is you. You're responsible. The other thing is, if you ask another entity to do something for you, when you finally are responsible for it, it's you that answers to it, right? The other entity can screw it all up, and they can, and you're the one that's still on the hook for it. So there's that to be said too. Um,
Activation. People make a business in saying, "Oh, I'm going to activate you." What do you think
yeah,
about that?
uh, activation is so wow, wow. So I'm going to go into a little bit of something for the last year. I when I went to Inyokern, so my recent wow, my phone won't quit ringing, and it's all scammy. It's just blowing up, and it's all unknown number, random one after the other. It's crazy. Danny, when I do the GSIG talk, I'll get this. Believe it or not, this is going to end up at the activation question. Every year for GSIG, that's the Galactic Spiritual Informers connection is the one that I put the new info every year, and then I do other talks. It's the same info. It's right. So I present the new info for Danny because she treats us so well. She's a warrior for what she's doing, and really nobody does it like Danny. Really, I do a lot of other shows. I talk with a lot of other stuff, and she takes such good care of us, and she's so passionate and committed to the truth and realism. So in 2023, I said I'm gonna go physically to. I went to Seattle to the house in Seattle that's in my book. Physically went there. I had witnesses. We took film. I didn't cover a lot of it because it's so dark, but I got documentation and I had witnesses there. And then I went to Inyokern and documented that, had witnesses there, had a witness with me. And we filmed it. We filmed a documentary. After that, I was only 2 weeks and I was on stage. So I was reading off my notes. Like I didn't have time. I got so much data from the trip to Inyokern because I didn't expect to find everything the way I left it there. So I found physical proof of me in a 20 and back, which doesn't only prove that they were using kids in an experiment for remote viewing and psychoenergetics. It doesn't only prove that that's where it was and it was in between with all the paper trail, but it proves the 20 and back because I was also home at that time with my parents and my sister as witnesses. So there's a big deal there. It was only 2 weeks later and I was on stage sharing the information. And I look back at my emails now and I started to be contacted by a lot of strange people and invited to some strange events to an activation. And I was surrounded in my life very quickly with new people, which ushered me into a new direction. I ended up here in Sedona. And that's how I've been on the dream warfare and the remote viewing and the remote viewing countermeasures and the psychoenergetics and the remote influencing and the remote healing and the remote hurting, all of it. All of those technologies came from that trip to Inyokern. But what I'm saying is an agency tapped agents to surround me and move me here to where I'm in a precarious situation, frankly. And what I learned from that and what I witnessed and when I unraveled it, and there's a lot of details to this that I'm not telling you people, but I'm telling you right now that I went on a list and they began an op to curtail my efforts and surrounded me with people that were agents legitimately. And what I found is that these people that are agents tend to do things like activations, and it's an op. So when you beware of the word, and just like you said, the Galactic Federation of Light,
Oh yeah.
it's hilarious. Light is a warning. It might as well be a giant red flag. If there's light in the title, run for your life. Light or activation in the title, I've found is more often than not, maybe not every time, but more often than not, an operation of the deep state to keep people that are coming forward with the truth corralled and compartmentalized so that you tell your truth, but you tell it to their fake audience. They say, "Oh yeah, come to my conference," and everybody in the conference is a damn agent or somebody that's out of their damn mind. Then it's not going to matter. You preach into the choir in an endless circle until you run out of energy, until you phase out, and then you move on. And so that's what we've done. How many people in ufology nobody ever heard of? I uh, I did some interviews for Odyssey, and there were guys on there that are big names in ufology I never heard of. I never knew. The guy had a 30-year career. He's been on all the shows, coast to coast. They never heard of him because ufology is compartmentalized. They'll let you tell your truth. They're not going to kill you, hopefully, knock on wood. They're not going to kill you, but they're going to put you in a room that looks like you're in front of an audience and let you just blab yourself out, talk it all out, and then you go home and you say, "Yeah, I told everybody about the aliens," and nobody hears it. It's you know what I'm saying. They put you in a cell in a compartment, and this is where I'm at in Sedona right now, and I've learned. And the flashy hook, the flashy thing on the lure is the word light, because
Yes.
everybody loves light. It gives you life. You know what I mean? Light. And then activation, I don't know. People that want to activate themselves, you're already activated, man. That's all I got to say about that. Like, I don't want to, I'm not talking about one person in specific. I'm not talking about that. But what I've seen is that you get these things from time to time that are labeled as activations. And when I look at them, a lot of them are activating sleeper agents, people that are programmed, that have been traumatized and programmed through hypnosis to begin behaving a certain way, and they corral people. A lot of people in ufology, even maybe you, Elena, certainly me, have people in your life that are manipulating you for a program, and they don't even know it because it's a compartmentalized thing that they got. So these
Yeah.
programs are alive and well, and there are thousands of these people out there among us in the community. And whatever I might touch on it publicly. I really don't want to get in any more trouble than I already am. I'm in deep trouble by going to Inyo Curd and doing and writing that book, the Beyond Sight. I'm telling you, I got in trouble for that book because of that book. I declassified stuff that is still classified in there, and they put agents on me at that point. And I talked about this at GSIC, and I'm talking about it now because for my own safety kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I look back at what they're doing, they have the same common denominators. They went to an activation, and it's the light worker deal. So there, you got me started on that, and I feel like I gave out too much information just now, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Maybe stop talking about it. Yes. And well, that's gonna be that has been a lot of topic we just had, and yeah, an hour and a half. Wow.
Already an hour and a half in. It feels like
Oh my
5 minutes, as always with us.
Is there okay? So is there anything you wish to say to my audience here?
Yes. So because of Maple Street Learning, so the aliens used binaurals. That jerk of a gray would put me on a system, and there was a binaural tone for 6 minutes. He would say, "This will help you study." And he said, and it would go, I said, "Well, why not let me get it longer so I do better?" He said, "All you need is 6 minutes. That's the most." So because of that, I bought all the software, Maple Street Learning. I bought all the software and I researched it. It took me a year and a half before I could figure out how to make binaurals correctly. And I started making them. They're a huge hit. And so I have these 30-minute tapes that have music and white noise and subliminal affirmation, sublims, I admit it, but they're to help you. I'm not subliminally programming you to vote for the wrong guy. I'm subliminally programming you to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's a form of hypnosis, maybe, uh, but it's on a subliminal level. It's people saying, "Hey, you're awesome. You can do this. What if everything works out?" Things like that. And then with the binaural tones in a set with music, and they've really been a big hit. And I put them on my web. I created a website. It's a sister company. It's called Psion.com. Psion, two I's. Psion.com. And I'm finishing one for grief. So everybody grieves, you know, you lose a loved one, you lose a dog, you get fired from your job, you get a divorce, you have grief. I got a divorce recently and, you know, whatever, had some loss. And so I thought grief is a good one. And I'm going to be releasing that one this week. Hopefully, it's almost done. And it's one of the better ones. There's a successful mindset one, there's a remote viewing one for meditating, there's a suit up for if you're going to be in conflict, you know, to protect your energy protection. Suit up is a good one. And those are on there. And I'm going to keep those coming. I've been working on those lately. And they're very, very effective. They're both on my Patreon, Talks with Tony on Patreon and on Scion, though the better ones are on Scion. That's my flagship version for that. And then the obelisk research, a lot. I can go on and on and on, but I don't want to promote too much. You know what I mean? I didn't come here for a commercial. I'm just happy to see you and talk about the book.
Oh, I want you to yeah, tell my audience what you're doing. So, that's great. So yes, I put all the links in the description of this video for your website, scion.com and everything, Patreon. So
Thank you.
yeah, so
I'll post this on my Patreon too for my folks to watch. Um,
yes, great, great. Yeah, put it first.
yeah, okay. It's no worries. I'll throw it on there. But that's what I've been working on lately. Those, and then from those, the audio, we're going to make audio learning modules for little classes, just to get things to set up for the investors for Maple Street. So it's the
Oh,
audio is the first version of media for what we're going to be building. And then AI is moving so fast that when you blink, the whole platform changes. Uh, so there's big things in the works.
fantastic. So well, that's I'm so excited for all your project, and I'm following as a friend, I'm following your endeavors, and it's like kind of, oh my gosh, she's doing that now.
It's great. It's great to
Yeah.
see how we both come along since we first met. It's been a lot, and it's nice to see that we're still going.
Yes, yes. Survivors. Well, listen, before we wrap up, last words of wisdom for the people.
Believe in yourself. You know what I mean? Like believe in yourself. That's it. So everybody's looking to somebody else for the answer, and the thing is, you're looking for the answer to yourself. And so that's where the answer is. You have to believe in yourself and start slowly. And nothing is going to be an overnight cure. You're not going to go to a workshop or you're not going to log on and have a Zoom call with somebody and all of a sudden be rid of what you're searching for. You know, it's just give yourself time, be patient, and believe in yourself. That's the only thing that's really going to carry you away, and you take it with you. The things you solve when you become something better, you take it with you. You know what I mean? Like learning or buying a book, you don't take it with you and or whatever. And I'm not dogging all that. Like, please keep learning, please keep doing these things, but don't think that that's going to do it all. You have to believe in yourself first. It starts in the mirror, and so that's my words of wisdom. That's all I got for today on that regard. I guess
Oh,
I don't feel very wisdomy.
oh, that's powerful words of wisdom. I think it's essential, notice your tone, know yourself, know thyself. That's the key for everything, the key of human power.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And that's been amazing chatting with you again. And I hope everybody will enjoy as well. And well, all my good blessings and hugs to you and to everyone who are
you
watching.
too. And I'll see you again in Charlotte. I'll see you in
Yes,
Charlotte, North Carolina, in a couple
Charlotte,
months.
September, JSIC, September 2025. I dropped the link as well. Tony and I will be speaking there if you want to meet us. It's in North Carolina in September. Come, you won't regret it.
It's
Come
going to
and
be a
see
great
us.
time.
Yeah, come and meet us. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Elena. Bye.